Hey there, history enthusiasts. If you're eager to dive into the wonders of ancient Egypt and explore the lives of its legendary rulers, you're in the right place. Follow our channel for this incredible journey and future videos that promise to captivate and educate. Support us by subscribing, liking and commenting. Your engagement keeps the stories alive. And hey, at the end of this video, we'll thank you for being part of our community and encourage you to stick around for more. Remember, subscribe, like and comment. The story of Ramses II, the great Egypt's mightiest pharaoh and his quest for immortality. Imagine a ruler so powerful that his name echoes across the centuries, still resonating through the sands of time. A man who led the greatest empire on earth with a firm hand and an unquenchable thirst for conquest. Now picture that same man defying the gods themselves, just to make sure his name would live forever. Today you're diving into the incredible journey of one of Egypt's most legendary pharaohs, Ramses II. Trust me, every part of his story will blow your mind. So, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and get ready to uncover secrets few dare to share. Ramses was born to rule, but he wasn't the first in line. At just 7 years old, his father saw something in him, a spark, a sense of destiny. From an early age, Ramses was trained as a warrior, a strategist and a diplomat. He never sat still. He was on the front lines with his father, learning firsthand how to keep an empire running. He didn't just inherit the throne, he earned it with sweat, courage and blood.
When I finally became pharaoh at 20, my mission was crystal clear: expand Egypt, maintain peace, use force when needed, and ensure my name would never be forgotten. But how do you build a legend? With massive temples, epic victories, and bold alliances. I did all of that and more. I wasn't just a man, I was the living symbol of divine power on earth.
The Egyptians believed their pharaoh was a god in human form, and Ramses wore that role with pride. His deeds were carved into stone, written in gold, and etched into the memories of entire civilizations. But behind the grand image was a young man determined to prove he was more than just an heir. He wanted to be immortal. When Ramses took power, Egypt was stable, but danger lurked just beyond the borders. One name haunted every pharaoh's sleep, the Hittites, a rising military power to the north in what's now modern-day Turkey. As tension built, Ramses made a bold choice. He wouldn't back down. And so, the stage was set for the greatest battle of his life, the Battle of Kadesh. This wasn't just a war, it was a masterclass in strategy, deception and chaos.
I led Egypt's mighty army, split into 4 divisions: Amun, Ra, Ptah, and Set. I was so confident that I believed victory was within reach. But the Hittites tricked me. Their spies fed me false information about the enemy's location. Thinking I had the upper hand, I advanced toward Kadesh, only to find myself ambushed by King Mu'tali II and his hidden army.
We surrounded him, isolated from his troops. Ramses was nearly killed in the chaos.
But that's when his true nature emerged. He mounted his golden chariot, charged into the heart of the enemy, rallied his men and turned the tide. His bravery became legendary. Against all odds, he reorganized his forces and forced the Hittites to retreat. It wasn't a decisive win. The battle ended in a draw, but Ramses spun it into a victory. He carved the tale into the walls of Luxor, Karnak and most famously Abu Simbel, where massive carvings of his face dominate the temple. Official records claim he defeated thousands on his own. Sure, it was propaganda, but it was smart. Ramses needed the world to see an unbeatable pharaoh. Years later, the result of that battle led to one of the world's first known peace treaties, a pact between Ramses and the Hittites that brought long-term stability to the region. But more on that later. Tell me in the comments, was Ramses truly a hero or just a master storyteller? After Kadesh, Ramses knew he had to cement his image as a living god, a pharaoh no one could touch. He didn't just write his story in stone, he sculpted it into the desert itself. And so the mighty temple of Abu Simbel was born. Picture this. In the burning heat of Nubia, you come across 4 colossal statues, each over 20 meters tall, all of the same man, Ramses. You'd feel awe, fear and respect, and that was exactly the point. Abu Simbel wasn't just a temple, it was a message. Challenge me, and this is what awaits you. Twice a year the sun rises in such a way that it lights up the inner sanctuary of the temple, illuminating the statues of Ramses and the gods, except for Ptah, the god of the underworld, who always remains in shadow. Coincidence? Never. This was master-level architecture, astronomy and spirituality all in one. But few know that Ramses' legacy was almost lost. In 1964, during the construction of the Aswan Dam, Lake Nasser threatened to flood Abu Simbel. In an extraordinary global effort, the temple was cut into pieces, moved to higher ground and reassembled, one of the greatest feats in modern archaeology. Ramses built Abu Simbel so his name would never be forgotten, and he got his wish. Thousands of years later, we still marvel at it, just like his people once did. Abu Simbel isn't just a temple, it's a monument to one man's desire to be remembered forever. And there's more. If you thought Ramses was just a warrior and builder, think again. He was also the most prolific father in history. It's estimated he had over 100 children from at least 12 wives, the most famous being Nefertari and Nofret. But these queens weren't just palace decorations, they played key roles in politics and diplomacy.
Ramses proved it by building me a temple right next to his at Abu Simbel, an almost unheard of gesture. In the inscriptions, he called me the one for whom the sun rises.
In a time when pharaohs were treated like gods, Ramses used the language of love to elevate his queen. It showed that behind the god-king was a man with a heart.
He ruled for 66 years, so long that many of his heirs died before him.
In the end, it was his son Meremta who took the throne, not because he was chosen, but simply because he survived.
Ramses lived to see his dynasty grow and flourish.
And more than anything, he wanted to be remembered forever.
He filled Egypt with festivals, parades, and sacred rituals, all centered around his image as a divine ruler.
His name was everywhere, on statues, temples, obelisks, tombs.
Egypt breathed Ramses.
It was as if he was shouting to the world, "I was here, I ruled, I was the greatest."
But here's the real question. Is true power ruling with an iron fist or living on in memory?
What would you do if you had the power to be remembered forever?
Would you build temples, carve your story into stone?
When Ramses died at 90, it wasn't just the end of a king, it was the end of an era.
His reign was longer than most lifespans at the time.
To many Egyptians, Ramses wasn't just their pharaoh, he was the only ruler they ever knew.
His death was a national event.
He was mummified with the highest rituals and buried in a massive tomb in the Valley of the Kings.
But due to looting, his body was later moved by priests to a secret tomb for protection.
Then, in 1881, his mummy was rediscovered, still astonishingly well preserved.
His face, nose and jaw were still recognizable, as if he had just passed.
And in 1976, something even stranger happened.
Ramses's mummy was flown to Paris for preservation treatment.
The French government issued him a legal passport, complete with his name and title, King of Egypt deceased. He arrived in France with full military honors.
Thousands of years after his death, Ramses was still being treated like a king.
Few people in history have defied time, enemies and nature, and still be revered.
Ramses did just that.
His mummy is now one of the most studied in the world.
Scientists discovered he suffered from arthritis, dental issues, and even scoliosis.
But none of that stopped him.
Even in pain, even in old age, he ruled a united Egypt like the giant he was.
So, I'll ask you again, do you think Ramses truly achieved the immortality he was chasing? We still have more of his story to uncover, but for now, just think about this. His name still echoes in the temples, the museums, and the minds of everyone who hears his tale. He wasn't just a warrior or a builder, he was an architect of memory itself. Even the Greeks wrote about him. When the Romans came to Egypt, they wondered if Ramses's monuments had been made by gods, not men. And maybe, just maybe, Ramses II was the only pharaoh who actually got what all others only dreamed of, true immortality. His name is still on documentaries, books and movies. His mummy is still visited with reverence. His face still towers over the desert, outlasting earthquakes, floods and time itself. So here you are, thousands of years later, still amazed by his story. Let that sink in. What's the real secret to immortality? Maybe it's not about temples or battles, but about being remembered. Ramses thought he was the son of the gods, but at the end of the day, he was a man with dreams, fears, and a burning desire not to be forgotten. And he wasn't. Because as long as someone